Jeremiah had seen the throne plucked up and broken down, but what was he going to build and to plant? The same throne. After the bloodshed was over, the Babylonians granted Jeremiah freedom. But what good was that? He was not an heir to the throne, and who was even left to be ruled over? How could this refugee take the broken down throne of David and build it again? If God's promise was going to survive, that throne would have to be ruled by a descendant of David. It would have to continue ruling over descendants of Abraham. So the question is, what did Jeremiah do? Where did he go? The Bible records that Jeremiah and other Jewish refugees went to Mizpah. Now, Mizpah was hardly a safe haven. A Jew named Ishmael assassinated the Jewish governor there and seized the refugees. Then Ishmael carried away captive all the residue of the people that were in Mizpah, even the king's daughters. The king's daughters. King Zedekiah was captive. His sons and nobles were killed, but his daughters were alive. Another man took control of this group of survivors and took them to Egypt, including Jeremiah, his assistants, and the king's daughters. Could Jeremiah somehow give one of these daughters a throne? Could he somehow give her a people to rule over who were descendants of Abraham? If so, the promise to David could continue, the promise that Jeremiah himself recorded. David shall never want a man to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel. But how could David's descendant rule Israel? The nation of Israel was destroyed more than a century before Judah's captivity. Now the nation of Judah was also completely destroyed. What happens to the promise to David? What happens to the promises to Abraham? It all depends on this question: where does Jeremiah go? Before we go forward, we have to go back. Back about 1,200 years to the lifetime of Judah, son of Israel, great-grandson of Abraham. This is the man whose descendants became the nation of Judah. And the Bible said the scepter promise, the promise of a Savior, would not depart from Judah. Judah was the father of twin sons. The firstborn would inherit this promise. He would be the one whose descendants would include a Savior. But which twin was the firstborn? The Bible records that at birth, one of the babies put out his hand. The midwife tied a scarlet thread around his hand and said, "This came out first." But the child drew back his hand, and somehow the other twin was born first. The midwife exclaimed, "How have you broken forth? This breach be upon you." The boy who was born first was named Pharez, meaning breach. The second-born, with the scarlet thread, was named Zerah. Descendants of Pharez included David and his line all the way to Zedekiah. Descendants of Zerah became wanderers, journeying to the north of the Scythian nations, then migrating to Ireland around the time of King David. But the fact that the Bible specifically recorded a breach in this line of descendants indicates that the breach must be healed. How could it be healed? By a descendant of Pharez, who was an heir to David's throne, marrying a descendant of Zerah. If that occurred, the two lines of descendants would merge into one. The way this mysterious event was resolved in order to preserve David's throne is quite fascinating.